It's about the sauce, it's about the cheese, it's about that crispy chicken. Chicken Parmigiana, one of those classics, and we are going to do it step by step and make the ultimate version. This is my very best chicken Parmigiana. Or Parmy, or Parm, however you want to call it. There are so many different ways that your chicken parm can turn into a tragedy. Lots of little details here, lots of little techniques and tricks for making the ultimate chicken Parmigiana. Let's get going on the chicken first of all. So, chicken, I know I always usually say, guys, I'm a legs and thighs girl, but for me, chicken Parmigiana, gotta be a chicken breast, I think. But there's a way to make the chicken breast really, really good here. So let's get on to that. Look, chicken breast always has this big, like, you know, lumpy side, the thin side. We've got to even that guy out. So what you want to do is take your knife and cut through the thick side here, and then kind of butterfly it open. And then it really depends on you whether you want a big, like, plate overhang chicken Parmigiana or like a little dainty one. We're going to go with like a giant chicken plate overhang kind of Parmigiana today. So I'm going to keep this one big piece. You could just, you know, sort of cut it in half. Now we're still looking a little uneven here on this chicken piece. So what you want to do is even that out. So grab some baking paper. And look, if you've got a fancy meat mallet, that's great. But you know, I always have empty wine bottles lying around because I drink wine. So that would totally do. Just sort of pound it in that. Just concentrate on the thick area so that you're getting a nice, even sort of consistency the whole way through. And then what you want to do is you want to get a lot of salt on this guy. So this is how we're going to improve the texture and flavor of the chicken breast, and that is by dry brining. So get in here, a lot of salt all over. Continue on with the second piece of chicken. And then pop your chicken out onto a tray, and you really want to leave it for at least 20 minutes. Look, if you could even do an hour, that would be amazing. The salt will penetrate more into that chicken, and it's almost like when you're doing a brine, kind of tenderizes as well. So I'm gonna let that salt do its magic. And while that's happening, we want to get cracking on our tomato sauce. Now, of course, because I'm me, my tomato sauce for my best ultimate chicken Parmigiana has a few little secret, you know, Marion ingredients. Let's get on to how we get started with that. First of all, we just need a little bit of oil. Now add in some garlic. And now some tomato paste as well. So my whole thing about you know, the tomato sauce for chicken parms is that a lot of the time it's really insipid and watery and just kind of ruins the whole thing. So this tomato sauce has so much intense flavor. One of the reasons why is the tomato paste. So, and that's an obvious one, you know, concentrated tomatoes. So that goes in. And just let that paste cook out a little in that heat. And then the base of this tomato sauce is going to be whole peeled tomatoes. So, you know, there's so many options with cans of tomatoes. Look, if I'm going for a really concentrated flavor, I like to use the whole peeled rather than crushed or anything else. Just, I find they're less watery and a bit more intense. And then here come the bits and pieces that you won't find in an old school chicken Parmigiana. I have some miso paste, and this again is along that same theme of how do we get the flavors more concentrated? How do we get more umami, more intensity, more like yum in the tomato sauce? Miso paste full of umami, not just saltiness. It really gives a great big kick of flavor. So that goes in, and it's just gonna kind of have to melt through. It'll get there in the end. And now some soy sauce. So usually you would add salt into your tomato sauce, right? Well, soy sauce is adding the salt, but it's also got, you know, an extra edge on the salt. It's got some, you know, savory umami flavors that also add extra character. So there you go. And then finally, my last little special ingredient is star anise. Yes, a very Asian ingredient, but it adds this really beautiful background spice that's just really subtle, but you know, people are like tasting the sauce going, that's really special. I don't know why, but you know, that's the star anise making it special. Mix all of that through, just kind of get in there and do a bit of squishing with your spoon on those whole tomatoes. And because we've added so much intense flavor in there, we only need to really simmer this for about 20 minutes. And when we come back, it will be amazingly super tasty. Just wait. We're now onto our next element of our chicken parmi. I know, so many elements when you're doing a chicken parmigiana. Okay, now we're going to concentrate on the crumbing. So for me, one of the other things that's so tragic about a bad chicken parmi, and that is that soggy crumbing that you can get. Okay, so how do we solve that problem? Well, first of all, I like to use panko breadcrumbs, which is the Japanese style of breadcrumb, very crispy, very light. And I like to cut that with some Parmesan cheese. The Parmesan cheese kind of gets a little firm and crispy when you fry it up, so that helps with giving us a nice, like, firm coating. And I like to do a 1-to-1 ratio of the cheese and the breadcrumbs, so a lot more than usual recipes would call for, but I think it really makes a big difference. Now for a little flavor enhancement here, I'm going to go in with some garlic powder and a little bit of salt. And you just want to mix that through and set that aside for when we're ready to do our crumbing. Now let's come back and have a look at our chicken. We've had 20 minutes here and you can see already, see that kind of shimmering salty brine that's on the top of that chicken? That's exactly what I wanted, because that kind of salty liquid is much more easily absorbed by that chicken as it sits there. But what I don't want is any of that liquid on the chicken when I go to actually crumb it, because that's, again, liquid's going to make things soggy. So you want to grab yourself some paper towel and really dry these guys off. So now we're crumbing, guys. I have a fairly standard crumbing, I like to call it a station. You know, it's about getting organized, crumbing, isn't it? So set yourself up with some flour. This is just some regular plain or all-purpose flour. I've got some eggs, I've got my breadcrumbs that we made earlier, and then of course we've got our chicken. So we're gonna do the thing that I always do, which is the left hand dry, wait, no, I got it wrong. It's left hand, wet hand. Oh goodness, see, I really do need a t-shirt to remind me. Okay, left hand, wet hand, dry hand, right hand. The whole point of that is that you don't get a big, gluey, sticky mess everywhere. I promise. Repeat it in your head as you're crumbing. It'll work. Okay, pick up your chicken with your left hand, wet hand, and that goes into your flour. And then your right hand comes in and places that into the egg. Left hand comes in to just get all of that coated, and then into your breadcrumbs, and then dry hand, right hand gets the breadcrumbs on top. Just make sure you're pushing those breadcrumbs right on there. And that is one very good looking little chicken cutlet. Okay, so we are ready to get all crispy and crunchy here. Now, you want some hot oil, just like a centimetre depth in the pan is totally fine. And then slide one of these guys in. So you just want to give this guy about a minute or so on this side. What I like to do is kind of get that bottom side firming up a little in the oil and then flip it over and then keep flipping while it's cooking because you don't want any like brown hot spots. You want a nice golden even colour. Okay, so this is looking totally golden, crispy, amazing, all the things. Let's get this guy out onto some paper towel. And then I like to just give this a dab, just dab that extra oil off the the top there. So cute, it's like a little love heart schnitzel. All right, now let's get this guy finished off. He is only half dressed for the party at the minute, so grab your chicken schnitzel onto an oven-proof plate or tray. And now let's come back here and have a look at our tomato sauce. And I like to kind of leave it chunky. You could blend this up if you want to, but have a look at that ruby red concentration. I mean, you can just tell it smacks of flavor. All right, now we want to get some of that out onto our chicken. Spread this out, and not too thin, guys. Well, I don't know, up to your preference. I'm kind of like a thick layer of saucy kind of girl, so I want lots of sauce on there. And now comes the cheese. So this is another little pressure point, I think, for chicken parmies. Sometimes the cheese is too kind of soft and stretchy and it kind of falls off. It's not creamy enough. So I've got a combo that I like, which is mozzarella cheese and then some French Gruyere cheese. So like the mozzarella gives us the stretchy and the Gruyere kind of gives us the creamy stickiness. Now just mix that together. Now sprinkle that cheese mix all over the top of that tomato sauce. And look, you can go your own adventure here. I'm like a more is more girl when it comes to cheese, so I'm gonna be quite generous. And then this needs to go under a really hot grill for 10 minutes or so, or until that cheese is like, you know, like badass gooey. Let's go. So this is pretty much my idea of heaven on a plate. Crispy chicken, check out that cheese and that red sauce. Holy smokes, I am totally going to enjoy this one. Before we get to me totally making a mess of myself and eating all of this, let's put a little bit of greenery on here. Just a little sprinkling of basil is what we need. All right, let's get in here. I need to show you guys what this looks like. Check out that cheese. Oh, this looks so, and smells so good. Do you know what I can smell? I can smell like the cheesiness and also that little bit of the garlic powder as well. That is such a wow moment. Holy smokes. I mean, you have all the like crispy chicken stuff going on. That garlic powder is just making everything taste more chickeny for some reason. And that tomato sauce, and then the cheesy cheese and the, oh man, this dish is everything, everything.